And good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. We've got a great show in store. First guest today is a gentleman named Adam Kirsch. He is the pastor of 501 Exchange out in Oconee County. Newfound friend. You've got a great... I'm not even going to tease us with the spoiler alert. We're just going to tell you got to hear this interview because he did something special this past weekend. Eli Connell, he is the Monroe Area High School athletic director. He'll be in the second hour. And then Roy Roberts Jr., good friend of mine, will join us from 1 to 2. Stacked show in store. And you know what, Chastity, what I'm liking is next week, our Service Academy special.
Yes.
That day is shaping up nicely.
It's going to be a great show.
It's going to be a great show. Even if you are not interested or do not have a young person in the house that wants to go to a Service Academy, you're going to really have an appreciation for what these academies offer when we're done with this show. But it really has been built with the premise of guiding parents, guiding students who have interest, ambitions to attend one of the service academies. It is going to be everything from A to Z. We're going to give you everything that you need to get started with if you want to, how to apply, what to be prepared for, what to expect.
Yes.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to break down each of the service academies, the Naval Academy, West Point, Air Force Academy, and the Merchant Marine Academy, which a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
And we even touch on a little bit the Coast Guard Academy, which that's the 5th Service Academy.
Yep.
But the main feature are going to be those 4, and we've got representatives from each of those coming on the show.
Super excited.
I'm super excited about it.
It's going to be so much information, so I can't wait.
Well, and what's really cool, I'm looking forward to learning more about the Merchant Marine Academy. I know enough about it to make myself dangerous, but the Merchant Marine Academy is probably the least known of the service academies, but it has some really cool elements to it, and I can't wait to share that with our listeners.
Well, this is the first really, getting everything arranged, the first I've heard of the Merchant Marine. So
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, same. It's high-level education, same service commitment, but it's got a couple moving parts, some uniqueness to it that the other academies don't offer. And, of course, Matt Whitley, my friend, he is a West Point graduate, helicopter pilot for the United States Army. He is going to be in studio with us. His father's going to be joining us, too, and we're going to be discussing that whole process. And, of course, Matt's going to be able to give us a front-row view of what his experience was like attending West Point. All right.
That's Tuesday, March the 3rd. So
Tuesday, March the 3rd. And Chastity, I appreciate all the effort you've put into this, arranging it, because this was probably one of the more complex events that we've scheduled on the Marc McMain Show to be sure that we're pulling it off, that it's organized, that we have the right people coming in. And ultimately, it has to be a tool to our listeners for those who want to attend an academy or has a kid that wants to attend the academy. But it also has to be entertaining for those who are not. And I promise you, folks, if you tune in next Tuesday, you're gonna enjoy this 2 hours.
Absolutely.
Very informative. Scanning the news, a couple little stories that jumped out at me. I'm going light today, Chastity. I'm not going heavy duty. There's all kinds of stuff going on in this world. There's some real heavy duty things happening, and I figured I'll go light and easy.
Good.
The first one, it doesn't mean it's necessarily good when I say light and easy. It still can be bad, but it's not heavy duty stuff.
Gotcha.
So this is a perfect example of that. There was an incident up in New York City where the police officers were called because there was a group of disorderly folks at Washington Square Park in New York City that were misbehaving. They were having a snowball fight, and it was, I guess, a violent snowball fight.
It was a violent?
Yeah, I don't think this was a snowball fight you would have with your neighbors where it's like you chuck a snowball and you're like, ah, ha, ha, and then they throw you back and they hit you, ah, ha, ha.
Oh,
people were getting hurt in this snowball
fight. That's terrible.
It was bad enough where the cops were called.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so that's, this isn't, your typical just Providence Club friendly snowball fight between neighbors. This was war.
This was getting aggressive.
It was getting aggressive. So the cops were called, and there's video of this, and it got nasty, and they started bombarding the cops. And at first glance, you would say, oh, okay, it's kind of a playful snowball fight. Then you realize these cops are not happy. They're getting hit in the face. Actually, some of them were sent to the hospital, which means that some of these knuckleheads were packing snowballs that were probably more like ice balls, right? So there's a way to pack a snowball, add a little water to it, make it more dangerous. I'm assuming. I'm just speculating. But if you're going to send somebody to the hospital because he hit him with a snowball, that means you did something really egregious, right?
Yeah, that's really not, that's evil.
It's evil.
Yeah.
And especially that you're not just your fellow man, you're attacking law enforcement officers. So obviously this is now a big deal, and you have the commissioner of the police department coming out and saying, hey, this behavior is disgraceful, criminal, and detectives are investigating.
Good.
So that means they're going to be hunting some of these folks down and putting them in jail for assaulting officers. And once again, it just gives you that stark contrast, because for those of us who listen to this station and live in the geography of Georgia that we live in, under the leadership, the law enforcement leadership that we have, the sheriffs, the deputies, the police chiefs,
Sure.
the police officers,
Sure.
we can't fathom something like this. Albeit there's not a lot of snow. We don't have snowball
Yeah.
fights. But if there was, we can't fathom
Absolutely
something like this
not.
taking place in our backyard.
No.
Now, would there be an event where you maybe have a playful snowball fight with the sheriff's deputy? Of course, that's different. This is not the situation.
That was my first thought. Like, oh, fun, snowball fight.
When you first see the video, you think that. And then
Yeah.
you watch the video, and then you're like, oh, no.
It's a
These
shame.
guys,
It's a
these guys
shame.
are being targeted, and they're getting hit
Yeah.
in the face, bad enough to send someone
Yeah.
to the hospital. But it's just it's just shocking that this anti-police sentiment still exists in this nation, and that is a product of the radical left. They own it. They
Agreed.
own it. They should have a tattoo on their butts about it, so we never forget that they're the ones that created this whole defund the police, anti-police movement,
Yes.
and it's still in 2026 rears its ugly head. But thank God, not down here in Georgia. Thank God, because of our governor,
That's right.
our leadership, our sheriffs, our chiefs of police, and the citizens who love our law enforcement
Yes,
here.
we back the blue here 100%. So.
And you know what? Up north, I've got good friends up there in New York and New Jersey. They back the blue. It's these radical nut jobs.
Just trying to
Whew,
be,
makes my blood boil.
yeah.
Makes
Just
my
doesn't
blood
make
boil.
sense.
Hey, did you hear a week ago this story? I don't watch American Idol, but this guy that was on American Idol, when the story first hit, it was a shocking story that somebody had broke into his house. This looks like your all-American family. You know, man married to the wife, they've got kids. Somebody breaks in the house and basically assassinates the wife. And right off the bat, when I heard the story, we may have touched on it a minute or two last week. I can't remember if we did or not. But right off when I heard the story, you're kind of like, how did somebody get in his house, assassinate his wife, get out, and nothing was done about it? But again, I reserve judgment. Well, now he has been arrested and charged with murdering his wife. He staged it to, or they saying allegedly he staged it to look like a break-in to mislead investigators. Sad,
Yeah.
really sad.
Wow.
You know, if things are that bad in the relationship,
Just walk away.
well, at least try therapy first, Chastity, before
Or,
you walk
well,
away.
before murder, like if it's that bad, then I mean, just walk away. Like,
I mean, there's phases
I don't know
to
if
this,
therapy
Chastity.
would help at that
Yeah,
point.
well, there's steps along the way.
Maybe, I don't know.
But you're right.
I couldn't imagine.
You don't pull out the gun and change everybody's life forever. Because think of this: the first thing I go to is the kids. Obviously, heartbreaking that the mom was murdered, but the kids now are going to be without two parents. Mom's dead. Dad's going to go to jail if this is what we appear to be. So they set bond at $2 million. All right, and the final little nugget: we were bragging on the U.S. men's hockey team yesterday, and the women's hockey team, but not everybody. Not everybody is happy with the men's hockey team. Keith Olbermann, who is he's a former sports analyst, radical leftist. I don't know much about Keith, don't follow him, but he came out chastising the men's team, saying, hey, taking the invitation that Trump offered to the White House is just bad optics, that it's, it doesn't look good. He called the men's team stupid, self-absorbed, and misogynistic. Can you believe that?
Wow.
The men's hockey team that just came out and beat Canada for the gold and demonstrated one of the most patriotic moments ever. That makes Keith Olbermann mad. Now, he celebrated the women's hockey team who declined President Trump's invite. And I was thinking about that, Chassie. You and I were talking about it before the show started. If the president calls, I don't care who he is and what side of the aisle you're on, you go.
Right.
If you're invited out of respect for the office, respect for the White House, you go.
Yes. It's a part of history.
It's a part of history.
Yes.
It's an honor to be invited.
It is an honor.
But don't make this into a political statement. That's just uncalled for. So, I don't know.
I
but-
would take their invite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Or let me ask you this:
I would go.
if it was Biden, would you have taken the invite?
Sure.
Yeah, just because being respectful to the office?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would love an invite to the White House.
I find it shocking that everything has to be politicized when all President Trump wants to do is recognize you for your efforts, winning gold for our country. But kudos to the men's team.
Yes.
Hopefully they don't waver and get shaky knees and they go and they follow through on this. And for all those knuckleheads that can't stand those that do this, that hate our American men's team for being patriotic, you know what? Just
they need to go volunteer somewhere.
Go volunteer somewhere. That's a kind way. I had something else queued up, Chastity, and it probably wasn't FCC appropriate, so I'm glad that you said go volunteer somewhere.
Please.
Mine had other language in it. But what's going to be cool, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, we are going to have a guest who did get invited to the White House, and he did not decline his invitation, so we can't wait to hear from him. Stick around, folks.
When you walk through the doors of Campton Restaurant, you're not just here for a meal, you're part of a tradition. I'm fourth generation owner Josh Parker, and for nearly 40 years, families in Walton County and surrounding areas have gathered around our tables to share stories, laughter, and good Southern cooking. From crispy fried chicken to heart-healthy daily specials, there's always a plate waiting with your name on it. We're open Tuesday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays. So come on by, make yourself at home, and experience Campton Restaurant, where family tradition meets every meal.
Spring is right around the corner. New beginnings, fresh starts, and big moments. If you're thinking about proposing, if you're ready to take the next step, you go to P&A Jewelers. For 50 years, families have trusted P&A Jewelers to celebrate life's most important milestones. Proudly second-generation, family-owned and operated by brother and sister, we specialize in stunning engagement rings and custom designs made just for you. P&A Jewelers, located at 4665 Atlanta Highway next to Quick Trip in Loganville.
Hey, this is attorney Bart Bitton with Bitton & Bitton. I live and work right here in Monroe, Georgia, and I am proud to serve this area. If you've been hurt in a car accident, you don't need some out-of-town lawyer that treats you like a number. You deserve a local lawyer you can trust, someone who lives here, works here, and takes care of people. So remember this, if you're ever in a car accident, be smart, call Bart. Bitton & Bitton, local lawyers you can trust.
Dreaming of the perfect backyard this summer? Hi, I'm Jason with Rosewood Luxury Pools. We design, build custom in-ground pools with timeless design and lasting quality. As a licensed general contractor, we handle every detail from concept to completion, so you can just relax and enjoy the process. Summer's right around the corner. Let's get ready for your pool party. Give us a call at 678-635-7276 or look us up at rosewoodluxurypools.com.
And welcome back, Marc McMain. Our first guest of the day is a gentleman I just met the other day, and it just so happens in our conversation he was about to take what I'm going to call a pilgrimage to the White House, invited to pray in the West Wing. Adam Kirsch, he's the pastor and co-founder of the 501 Exchange. Adam, thanks for joining us today, sir.
Yeah, man, it's an honor to be here, Mark. Good to talk to you.
Well, I just saw you the other day on your doorstep. We had a great conversation. You were fasting at the time in preparation for your journey to Washington, D.C., which we're going to get to in just a second. But, Adam, let's start off by telling our listeners about you, your journey, how you became pastor, and what is the 501 Exchange? Right off the bat, it sounds like a tax entity group, and that's not what it is.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've heard that before. So I am from South Hall County, Georgia, originally, and grew up in and around Gainesville, Georgia. And after I got married in 2014, my wife and I lived in Gwinnett County. And at the time, we were a part of a church called Gwinnett Church there in Gwinnett County. And we, with our best friends, began a little ministry together. And it was something that we had been dreaming about for some years, but our entire lives at that point were kind of surrounding around Galatians 5, verse 1, which is where we get 501, which is, it is for freedom that you've been set free. Therefore, stand firm and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. And so we were really focused in on, for most of our lives, the church has talked about salvation, but But it was really at that time in our life that we really began to find out what it meant to be free in Christ. And so we really wanted to lead people in what we felt like was the freedom of Christ, not just the salvation of Jesus. And so for the past, I guess right at about 10 years, we started a little worship and prayer ministry called the 501 Exchange. We currently live in Athens with our family, or right outside of Athens, as you know. And our ministry meets right off Lumpkin Street in Athens, Georgia. Back in 2021 and 22, we renovated what was an old strip club. It was the longest running strip club in Athens history.
You don't hear that every day, Adam. That's good.
No, you don't. And at the time that we first saw it, it was in the middle of COVID. And I mean, the first time we walked through it, you're talking about things on the ground that you maybe shouldn't even say on air.
I can only imagine.
But we prayed through the building and felt like God was saying, hey, I'm going to help you purchase this building. And so
wow.
As we walked through it 2 years later, we were walking through a fully renovated, beautiful event space / house of worship and prayer. And so we still gather there. We have a gathering there Thursday night where we get together for a couple of hours, and we just keep it very simple. We call it the nuts and bolts of walking with Jesus, which is fasting, giving, praying, and worship. So it's really simple. We try to keep it as simple as possible. And we get to do ministry with our best friends and see a lot of people set free, hopefully along the way.
Well, very interesting, because I realize you in the description, didn't use the word church. So you're not describing yourself as a church. It's a ministry. Do you meet on Sundays as well, or do you have your own church that you go to in addition to the 501 Exchange?
Yeah, we actually do have a little community that we go to on Sundays called The Awakening in Athens. It's been a little house church for about 16 years, pastored by a guy named Travis Gay. And our ministry really serves as maybe what we would call like a supplement to weekly rhythm of church. And so we have a prayer room that is available for people when they want it. And then we gather one time a month to worship and pray. And then sometimes we are asked, as you know, and as you and I met, sometimes we're asked to go and do ministry out. But we try to keep that pretty minimal these days, and really try to be careful about where we're going out to do ministry, as we feel like God has told us to focus on the ministry in our city.
Yeah, right in your back. And look, Athens, that area needs it. There's so many needs right here in our backyard of all
Absolutely.
These communities that if we spend our time just helping those around us, we will be more than not just fulfilled, but we'll be more than busy. Our schedule will be stretched because people need help right here in our. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest is Adam Kirsch. He's the pastor and co-founder of 501 Exchange. So this is interesting. So you meet on Thursday nights. What would a meeting look like? So does it begin at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. and go for an hour? Does it kind of have that Wednesday night church feel that you don't see so often anymore with the Wednesday night services? But is it kind of that tempo?
Yeah, it is more like that. We usually say that our gatherings are 2 hours long, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. every last Thursday of the month. And when we gather, it's pretty simple. So we will get together, and you have people in the room that are as young as 1 and 2 years old, and people in the room that are as old as 80, 85 years old. A lot of college students come to our ministry, so
wow.
The bulk of the room is, a lot of times you're going to see people between the ages of 17 and 25. And it's pretty beautiful because we love seeing a multi-generational, diverse gathering of people. It's funny because we don't shoot for that. What we shoot for is just to make much of Jesus, but something that we pray for is that we would look like the Church of Christ. And so I think you can aim for Jesus and get both, but if you aim for something not Jesus, you sometimes don't get Jesus. And so our main goal is to meet with Jesus. And so we gather, we start in prayer, and then we get into making much of Jesus, which I think is what we do in worship. I come from a background of worship ministry, itinerant worship ministry, so traveling, writing worship music, singing and leading worship music in the church for 15 years out of college. And so that's our background, and really what I've learned as I read the scriptures is that the beginning of the text is all about communion with God, and we are heading to a place that's all about communion with God. And every time you see heaven in the scriptures, they're singing. and there's high praise of Jesus. And so we try to just stay in a place of high praise and prayer for a little while. And then if we ever stop and have a moment of any like teaching or talking, it's usually just straight from the text, and we read the scriptures together. And we try not to keep it too complicated in the sense that we don't want to add too many of our own opinions to what we believe is already truth.
Right,
so
right.
It's really just a gathering where we get together and make much of Jesus. And we have seen some really, really powerful things over the years as we've gathered. It started in my buddy's field off Hodges Mill Road in Watkinsville, and it moved to a framed house, and then it moved to a basement, and then now in a place that's finished and beautiful. And we never thought that it would end up where we are now. We've really just tried to take it one step at a time and try to be honoring to the Lord with every step of the process. So
you can see how God, you can see how God has His hand in what you're doing, and and I'm learning about this as we go, because again, 501 Exchange doesn't tell a lot about what it is. So this is really unique, really impressive. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest Adam Kirsch is the pastor and co-founder of the 501 Exchange. Adam, when I met you the other day, you were actually fasting, and before we even get into why you were fasting and where you were going, I dropped a couple teasers. Let's talk about the value of fasting. I don't know if that is something that is lost in today. I know my mom used to do it quite a bit when she was younger. What is the scriptural beginning of this, and what is the value? Why do you fast?
Man, that's, first of all, a beautiful question. In and around our ministry, whenever we talked about fasting, because you are correct, we've gone a long time with, in a stretch in my life where I don't believe that I actually heard anyone teach on fasting for years at a time at one point. But one of the things that we say in our ministry often is there are some things that Jesus invites people into in the text, and then there's some things in the Gospels where Jesus says, when you do this. And the three things in the Sermon on the Mount, his most famous sermon, that he says, when you do this, are three things. He says, when you pray, when you give, and when you fast. And so the practice of fasting, we just say it very simply. Fasting is giving up food, so giving up physical food so that we can create spiritual hunger. And so we just want to make sure that our hunger is set on the person of Jesus and Jesus alone. He was the one who, in his last gathering with his disciples before the cross, what does he do? He has a meal. But in that meal, he says, every time you gather, I want you to do this. I want you to remember me when you eat. But then he says, I'm going to give you food, not that is symbolic, but he says, I'm going to give you food that is me. This is my body. This is my blood, which is a crazy thing to say. It's a wild thing to say. It would have set the disciples back going, what in the world is this guy talking about? But what he's saying is, I want you to have a hunger for me. And we believe that fasting is just a beautiful way to set aside something physical so that we can create a hunger for something spiritual and something more. And so we don't do it all the time. I say that. Some of us have a weekly rhythm of it. But in the case that when you and I met, it was a little bit bigger of a deal than that. So we had just prayed into how long do we need to fast. And fasting in the spiritual sense is giving up food, so drinking water and giving up food. So that's what we were doing. I think that was a simple enough explanation.
Well, it is. It's excellent, and I think now that's a perfect lead up, because that's when I met you. You were in preparation. You had been invited to the White House. If I remember correctly, you were invited to actually come and pray in the White House. Tell us how this came about, and tell us about the journey.
Thank you for asking. This is something that it was not a request that I ever imagined myself receiving in my entire life. So let me just say that. This was not something that I expected or something that we thought would have been coming at some point. But we have a friend of our ministry, and Josh. We met Josh many years ago, and Josh, he's in UGA law school. And so you can imagine that to be an attorney at the White House, they get their first pick of any attorneys in really all of the country. Mm-hmm. And so the places that they usually go are, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford. And this guy, Josh, he is a wild man of faith. But he believed that when he went into UGA law, that the Lord was going to invite him into the White House. And sure enough, he got a random call from a Supreme Court judge in Florida, and it immediately got him into an internship at the White House.
Wow.
And so Josh, again, is a friend of our ministry. He comes, he's in our prayer room once a week whenever he's living in town. Right now he's living in D.C. And out of the blue, a few weeks ago, he called my friend and the other co-founder of the 501 Exchange, Paul Taylor Smith, who is also my best friend, godfather of my kids. We've done a lot of ministry together, and he just said, "Hey, guys, I'm inviting 5 guys who I know pray to come pray through the West Wing of the White House.
Wow.
Would love for you to be there." And when someone gives you that invitation, you kind of look at your schedule and go, this thing better be life or death if I'm going to miss this opportunity.
Yeah.
And truly we treated it that way, because something that I want to say about our nation, if I may,
Sure.
is that for younger millennials, for Gen Z, and even now for Gen Alpha, I believe that it would be easy to lose hope in God's will for our nation. And I just want to remind everybody of what I've been reminded of as I'm on your call today, because I believe it's not by accident that I'm here either. So
Agreed.
I believe that we are one nation under God. I believe that we are God's experiment for the kingdom of heaven to manifest in our day. So I believe that's America, which I believe revival for all of the world will be catapulted or shot out of the canon of America. So I believe that is the will of God for America.
Amen,
Is that
Adam.
we
Love it.
will send the gospel to every corner of the planet. That was God's will for our country. And some people would say, well, it's a free marketplace. It's this, it's this. Very simply, from the very beginning of time, I believe that God had destiny for America, that we were going to be the nation that sent the gospel all over the corners of the planet. And so when we got this invitation, that was the weight that we felt in the invitation. So, yeah, that's how we got there. So we kind of dropped everything, booked flights about a week out, and shot right up there.
That's incredible. Just to think about how this formed and how quickly it came to fruition. So when you get there, then, what was the moment like? Were you invited in for a certain period of time, and was there a designated place that you had you set up to pray? How did that go?
Sure. That's a great question. So if people don't know, the West Wing of the White House is exactly what it sounds like. It is this western side of the White House, which is where the president's living quarters are. It's where the Oval Office is. It's where the Situation Room is. It's where the Cabinet Room is. It's where the meeting room for the Cabinet and other staff is, which is what they call the Rosie Room or the Roosevelt Room. And it's where every major leader in all of the world comes. When they come to the White House, they greet President at the time, the sitting president, at these western doors of the Western Wing of the White House. And so when we got there, they had set up a private tour. And President Trump at the time was actually hosting the governor's dinner this weekend during this exact hour. And so they were in another room. And so we got to kind of walk through the West Wing while all of the governors and some other people in the cabinet were having dinner together. And we basically just went room to room. And you can't walk in every room, but you can at least stick your head and arms in every room. So we believe that the power of prayer is powerful and effective. So we believe that the prayers of the righteous are powerful and effective. And I'm not righteous because of things that I've done. I'm righteous because of the blood of Jesus. But we just went through, put a little oil on our hands, and touched every door, and prayed for I'll tell you exactly what we prayed for. Very simple. In Ephesians chapter 1, Apostle Paul says that he is praying for the church of Ephesus, and he says that he is praying for them to have the spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of Jesus. And so we just prayed for the spirit of wisdom and revelation to fall on the West Wing. And because here's the truth. Wisdom is eternal truth. What our nation needs more than ever, I think, in this hour and in every hour is the wisdom of heaven. Not the wisdom of man.
That's right.
Not the knowledge of man. It is the wisdom of heaven. It is the revelation of the kingdom of heaven in the knowledge of Jesus. So that's what we prayed over every room. It was really simple. And got to pray over some Marines, and really powerful. So we got to watch J.D. Vance and RFK walk to their little fleet of Suburbans, and got to pray as they were walking out.
That is too cool.
It was amazing. It was amazing. In case anyone is wondering, there is not a single person inside of that White House that is not a J.D. Vance fan, which was really encouraging to hear. I love that he's our VP. I want to tell you this too, Mark, and I just, before we move on, I wanted to say that I hope everyone is encouraged by what I'm about to say. I talk to so many people, and I say so many, I mean dozens of staff in the White House and across the way is the biggest building in Washington, D.C., which is the Roosevelt building. It's a big executive office building. And right now, with this current staff, they have morning prayer every morning.
Wow.
They have evening prayer as a team every evening. They have worship on Thursday nights, and they have a Bible study every single Friday morning.
Think of that.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening inside of our White House
That is just
right
beautiful.
now.
That is, and I think that was void over prior administrations. I think that was
I
missing.
think that's very possible, and according to even as I spoke to some Marines, I believe that is true. But it is a very important thing for people to know. That's what's happening. That's the way we're starting and ending every day as a staff inside the White House right now, which is extremely encouraging. Everything may not be as we want it to be, but I can tell you that that's how you get things heading in a direction that we want it to go.
That's right. That's right. Adam, this is fantastic. I agree. I think God put you in my path to be able to share this on the airwaves of WMOQ, and I appreciate you sharing it. I appreciate what you and your friends and your team did. And that's just a beautiful story. This is great. You're going to be a tough act to follow today, Adam. That was very well done. And I look forward to.
I feel really grateful to have met you as well, Mark. And I feel really grateful for you to have. You didn't have to just come out and say, "Hey, we'd love to talk to you about this on air," because I never asked for that, and I'm just grateful for you to have me on.
Well, and with the remaining few seconds that we've got, Adam, if somebody wants to find out more about the 501 Exchange, do you have a social media page where they can learn about the schedule or a website?
We sure do. And the 501exchange.com, the501exchange.com. It's a place. Hey, right now, I'll just say this. We have never fundraised in our life. So the Lord has just been so good. We have had some faithful givers who we have never asked to give, but people have just come alongside us, believing in what we're doing. So if anybody felt led to give, I'll just believe that the Lord had me on today to ask that, because what we're doing right now is really unique and special in our city. And you said it earlier, I believe that Athens is in need of it, and I also believe that Athens is due for an awakening. So I'm praying that the people of Athens awaken to the good news of Jesus, and we're doing everything that we can while we're here to make sure that we're partnering with the Lord to see that happen.
That's just beautiful, Adam. I look forward to seeing you in the near future, and keep up the good work. What a blessing. Thanks for joining us today.
Mark, it's a pleasure, man. Bless you.
Absolutely. That's Adam Kirsch. He is the co-founder, pastor of the 501 Exchange in Athens. Check him out, folks. Something special going on there. You can hear it in his spirit. You can hear it in his voice. When you meet him in person, he is genuine. It really, and what a story. What a story.
And I love that the White House starts each morning, ends each day in prayer. That's beautiful.
Cassie, and again, I don't know this. Yes. I bet you that didn't happen under prior administrations.
I'm sure, yes.
I think this is administration and what they're doing.
And without God in your heart, you cannot lead.
Amen to that. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Take a quick break. We will be right back.
I'm Rick Jackson. My dad abandoned us. My mom was an alcoholic, so I left the projects. Shoe shining, ticket scalping, vacuum sales. I found purpose in work and built a $3 billion business. Like President Trump, I don't owe anybody anything. And like you, I'm sick of career politicians. I'm running for governor to lead America in criminal deportations, to cut income taxes in half, freeze our insane property taxes, reform the system so that anyone who can work will work, and not just sit around binge watching Netflix and eating Cheetos. I'll let law enforcement do their job. And if you're caught helping a child change their sex, you're going to jail. I'm Rick Jackson, and I'll get these done. Paid for by Jackson for Governor, Inc.
Running is a sport that's embraced by many people. There's something special about the open air, being alone with your thoughts, and maybe with a competitive spirit to see if you can better your last run. But today I have a question. Right now, are you running from God? Maybe you're running from a broken relationship when God is calling you to reconcile. Or you're running from a life you know isn't God's best for you. Or you're just trying to get away from heavy responsibilities. Whatever the reason, I have to tell you that it's foolish to try and run from God. Think about it. There is nowhere on the face of the earth that you can escape Him. And sadly, sometimes we have to hit rock bottom before we realize we're running the wrong way. Which way are you running right now? Isn't it time to stop running from God and start running with God? This is Bryant Wright, speaking right from my heart.
For more on this and other topics, visit rightfromtheheart.org.
Welcome back, Marc McMain. Chastity, a good buddy of mine, Mark, just texted me something funny. He says, he goes, I fasted once. He said it was the hardest 4 hours of my life. I don't think that qualifies.
Fasting is very good.
4 hours is just between meals.
Yeah, well, maybe. A little intermittent fasting.
But you know what's funny is when you hear the word fasting today, everybody immediately thinks of nutritional value, right? Dietary value, the intermittent fasting. People don't speak about fasting in a spiritual sense. So there's something there, something to be learned from that.
There's a lot there.
Great interview. Mm-hmm. Our next guest, Eli Connell. He is the athletic director of Monroe Area High School. Coach, thanks for joining us today, sir.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on.
Is it appropriate to call you Coach? Is that the right title? Do you have a coaching background, or should I call you Dr. Connell?
Definitely don't call me doctor. That would be inappropriate for sure. But Coach is perfect. I do have a coaching background. I started in education coaching basketball in 2000 and kind of have coached many different sports since that time. But coach is an affectionate word around here.
Agreed.
So definitely coach is good. But how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And you're right. It's a title. You know, I coached soccer when my kids were young, never on a, well, I actually did coach for my boys' high school, now that I think about that. But I love it today when some of the kids that I coached 10, 15 years ago still call me coach. I don't know if there's a more, appropriate term, and it demonstrates the impact that you have on young people's lives when you take that opportunity to do that. What was your path? Was education always on the radar for you, or how did you get into the world of education?
Well, actually it was not. I can tell you it was probably always on the radar in terms of my mother was a teacher, and an awesome teacher at that. So definitely part of my life. But when I went to school, my first kind of dream or thought was to be a doctor, and I started out pre-med at UGA and rolled right along until I kind of realized that math was more my thing than science, and I shifted over to get my degree in mathematics. Still not planning on education. Just got my degree in mathematics in 1999, and at that time, the United States was making a big push in education for math and science, and so it was kind of, they made a big push at UGA to all the people that were graduating with those degrees. It sounded fun. I met with some people at Winder. They offered coaching and teaching math. I said, let's try it, and man, it was such a great choice. I ended up going back to school to get my master's in secondary math education to get all the certifications that were required, and I've taught math for 26 years, everything from pre-algebra to accelerated pre-calculus. It's really another big part of my life is math and student athlete. But then on the coaching side of things, I've also coached for 26 years in terms of almost all sports really, but mainly basketball. I was the boys basketball coach at Winder High School until 2010. And then I came to Walton County Schools. I was at Loganville for 2 years. And then I've been the athletic director here at Monroe area for 14 years now. This is my 14th year.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest is Eli Connell. He is the athletic director at Monroe Area High School. It's when you look at the athletic director position, and we've had Coach Whitley on, Marc Whitley, who's the athletic director at George Walton Academy, and some other people in coaching. We just had the wrestling coach on yesterday from Social Circle. I've emphasized this before. You guys have incredibly long days. I mean, you, as a teacher, you start early. When you're done with your teaching duties, that might be at 2, 3, 4, depending upon the school. Now your coaching responsibilities begin. There's something to be said for the passion that you have for working with kids if you're going to take that extra responsibility of becoming a coach. Do you see that with your staff and your background?
You know, I think you nailed it. There's definitely, it requires a passion. You don't do it for any other reason other than the passion of giving back to kids, the adrenaline that comes from the moment of competition. You know, the things that were given to you by your coaches, there's a passion to want to give that back to the kids. And that's why coaches do it all across the state. I love to think Monroe is special, and we are, but those guys you just named, Whitley and Coach Prater, you know, those guys, they do it great too. It's a small world in the coaching world. To kind of tie it together, Coach Whitley's first ever job as a head football coach was my senior year. He was my football coach my senior year, his first ever job.
I love that
Coach Prater, Coach Prater for Social Circle, he played, he wrestled for Coach Reach, who was our head football coach. He used to be the head wrestling coach at Loganville when Coach Prater came through. So we all know each other. There's a bond that comes with it. You were talking about those hours that coaches put in. And they do. It's long hours, which requires complete buy-in from their family. But what it also does is builds extremely strong bonds between fellow coaches who also put those same long hours in. Their families, you know, it just creates such a sense of camaraderie. And I like to feel like here at Monroe area, our coaches have a real family feel. My kids grew up through Monroe area. Just looking at pictures the other day after football games when my youngest daughter was 3 when I came here, so she's 17 now. She's a junior here. It's just
that's got to be a great experience.
What you're saying,
yeah, what a cool experience that you got your kids now coming through that same program. That is so unique. Coach,
yes.
we got a few more minutes for this break, and then we want to, in the second half, I want to kind of get into the nuts and bolts of what you're doing as AD and all the programs that Monroe Area High School offers. But what would be something that maybe the average person doesn't understand that the roles of an athletic director are? Because it's, again, you're overseeing all the programs. So maybe what is something that people don't fully understand about your position?
Oh, well, that's a neat question. I would say that most people look at an athletic director as simply the guy who hires and fires coaches. And that's just super simplistic.
Way more to it than that.
I think what people don't realize the most would be how much time, energy, and focus goes into the total well-being of the student, not just what they're seeing when they're watching a game, or an event, or a match, or a competition of some sort.
Often I've said when I coach soccer, if all I've taught you to do is to kick a ball, I've failed as a coach, right? There's so much more that goes into this than just teaching you the fundamentals of the sport that you're coaching. Do you find that there's opportunities as athletic director, if you have a new coach, a young coach, especially maybe somebody that just came out of college, that you're having to teach them how to coach, or maybe give them some tips on how to deal with stuff? Because again, at the high school level, it's competitive. No matter what people say, people want to win. They want their programs to be success stories.
That's right. And I like to think that I do. As athletic director, I have a direct and hopefully really good relationship with every one of our head coaches. And then in turn, the head coaches hopefully have that same relationship with their assistant coaches. So for me, when you're asking like what kind of advice that I give a young coach to help bring them along, really it's support. I always being open door policy. We have our principal, Eddie Hood, preaches open door policy. So it's something that when it starts at the top, it comes down through every part of the school. So we have an open door. Come talk to us if you need us. But, one thing that I think that we can do and we try to do is if we have a young coach, we make it a point to try to pair a younger coach with a seasoned assistant.
That's smart, yeah.
Somebody that's going to be more involved with the day-to-day questions. A head coach doesn't run everything by the athletic director, but a head coach does talk to their assistants almost every day about everything. So that's kind of one thing we would try to do to help in that kind of situation. But ultimately, there's no magic bullet, so to speak.
You
try to provide support yes, sir, provide support and be there when they need you.
Yep, sometimes you just got to get out there and do it. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show, visiting with Eli Connell. He is the Monroe Area High School athletic director. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back and find out about the programs at the high school and what is going on.
Serving Loganville and the surrounding area for over 25 years, it's the Main Street Barbershop, 305 Main Street next to Braxton's Auction in downtown Loganville, offering old-fashioned service and modern-day styles. Appointments available and walk-ins welcome. Open Tuesday through Saturday with a friendly staff and atmosphere. That's Main Street Barbershop in downtown Loganville. Call 770-554-3300 or go to mainstreetbarberloganville.com to learn more.
Youngblood Tractor in Madison is proud to be your local Massey Ferguson dealer. Massey Ferguson has been building straightforward, dependable, and affordable tractors and farm equipment for 175 years. Massey Ferguson right now has the best lineup in their 175-year history, and there has never been a better time to upgrade to a Massey Ferguson tractor. Youngblood Tractor carries the complete lineup of Massey Ferguson tractors ranging from the 22.5 horsepower subcompact all the way up to the 130 horsepower mid-range utility tractor. And with one of the largest trailer inventories in the state, you'll always have a way to get it home. Youngblood Tractor also carries the complete lineup of hay equipment, including the legendary Massey Ferguson 1840 square baler, as well as implements like rotary cutters, batwing cutters, box blades, grapples, pallet forks, and more. There are great financing promotions to take advantage of, so give us a call today at 706-342-2242. Youngblood Tractor also has experienced parts and service departments to take care of you after the sale. Visit us online at www.youngbloodtractor.com or stop by and see us at 1600 Athens Highway in Madison.
Franklin's Gun Shop in Athens has everything you need for hunting and fishing. They have great prices on their guns, ammo, scopes, bows, gun safes, knives, blinds, tree stands, and rod and reels, clothing, and more. I do all of my shopping at Franklin's, and they're open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 9 to 9 and Sunday noon to 6. At Franklin's, you'll get great customer service from people who know what they're talking about. Family owned since 1961, located at 3941 Atlanta Highway in Athens.
Welcome back, Marc McMain, our guest, Coach Eli Connell. He is the Monroe Area High School athletic director. Coach, let's talk about this. We teased this on the way out that every parent, every student, every athlete, no matter what sport they're playing at this level, they want to win. They want success. And so Monroe Area High School has really demonstrated some incredible programs over the past couple of years. When you took over as athletic director, what was your initial focus? Did you spot some programs that you're thinking, man, I gotta work on this one harder, we gotta elevate this? What did you experience in the first year or two?
Well, I spent the first year or two drinking water from a fire hose, I believe, if I look back on things correctly. It was a lot. And I tell you, the people before I got here had done a great job. And, I wasn't taking over something that required a cleanup or anything like that. We had been successful in several different sports. Obviously, there were some sports that were needing to be improved. But at a school like us, we go through cycles, and we have good cycles, and we sometimes have some down cycles for a variety of reasons. But that's just the reality of kind of our nature. So for us, it became, how can we take advantage of our high points in cycles, and how can we limit the low points of our cycles? And that's kind of been something that we focused on doing the entire time I've been here, is doing things to keep us from experiencing those times where, sometimes you're low on numbers, where you don't have you have a small senior and junior class, which makes you be very young. And so for us, one thing we tried to do to avoid that was focus on our feeder programs and making sure that we had good numbers coming through the classes along the way. And I felt like that's shown up in terms of our sports numbers have consistently improved and been strong for the last few years. So that's something I guess I would say we kind of focused on and are definitely proud of. A few years back, we had a feeling like our female sports, we wanted to improve some of our outcomes there, and set out and hired good coaches who put in time, investments, resources, and I'm just super proud of the last few years of our girls softball team. Has been one of the premier in the state.
Impressive.
Our girls track team won the state championship last year.
Wow.
We started a flag football team, which is as a JV and a varsity full of girls. We're having to make cuts now for flag football. So many positive things, and I didn't mean to leave any female sport out. I hope I didn't, but just so many positive things that came through that hard work, and I've just been so proud of our kids and our coaches and our community that's kind of done all this. That's who deserves all the credit in the world. Our students, our parents, our coaches, our admin has been supportive. But ultimately, back to your question, when we came in, I think it was limiting the lows of the cycle and capitalizing on the highs of a cycle. And then,
because you're always going to
really
lose
focusing on our
athletes.
feeder.
Got new athletes coming in, losing athletes that graduate or maybe move to a different community. So that always has an impact. It's interesting to me because I'm a long time removed from high school sports. And last week I had a couple young men on the show that were part of the bass fishing team over at Prince Avenue. So we all know that Monroe Area High School has football, basketball, baseball, soccer. What are some of the sports that you think, and you named flag football, and that was great, but what would be another sport that maybe is less visible that people don't realize that is a high school sport at Monroe Area High School?
Well, since you've already talked about bass fishing, I'll leave that one in the lake, so to speak. And I'll tell you about one of our other, what I would say, smaller, probably less popular sports, but is growing, and we have been super successful, is our esports program.
Okay, yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize that we have a growing, booming esports program here at Monroe Area High School. When I say I coach many sports, I actually started the esports program about 8 or 9 years ago, just because the interest was so strong in the school. I did it for a year and then got it up and rolling and turned it over to somebody that knew what they were doing, because I had no idea. I was learning from the kids for a year. But we got it off the ground, and now Coach Wong has taken it over. And, man, those kids, we finished in the top 5 in the state, and that is in all classifications.
Wow. In
Mario Kart and Splatoon. So there's several games that are played. They're PC games. They're teams. The kids communicate with each other through headsets. They play other schools from across the state. We have a lab. It will blow you away when you go in there. But, man, it's such a growing sport. We've started hosting Madden tournaments, and they're even growing. It's something that across the United States, actually globally.
Again,
globally, yeah. So
nothing even on the radar like this when I was in high school. Of course, video games weren't that big when I was in high school, but that is cool. That's a whole neat facet. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest, Eli Cannell. He is the athletic director of Monroe Area High School. Coach, you mentioned a couple of the successes that the girls teams had with the softball, the track and field. What about the boys' teams? What were some things that you guys are proud of that you saw this past year, or that you're seeing, they're expecting in the spring sports coming up?
I got you. Well, first, let me say this. We're loading up the bus right now because we're heading to Sandy Creek for the first round of the state basketball playoffs.
Oh, wow.
Our boys have our boys are playing tonight. That is their 12th consecutive state playoff appearance, so super proud of
Congratulations
of those
and good
guys.
luck with that, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Coach Kevin Strickland, our boys coach, does a tremendous job. And I think this is his 7th year here, and obviously made the playoffs in all 7 years. He's done a great job. Our football team has been really competitive the last couple of years. We haven't gotten as far as we like. 2 years ago, we went to the Elite Eight, lost to Carver Columbus. And then this past year, we lost out in the second round. Proud of those guys. Football's very, very competitive in the AAA. Some really powerhouse programs. Coach Reach has done a tremendous job of getting our program up to that level where we can compete with those top teams. And we've been a top 10 team the last 4 or 5 years in AAA. So super proud of them. We had a couple of wrestlers go down and placed at state this past year down in a new facility in Clayton County. He's been in Macon in the past, but it's now in Clayton County. Those guys, Daisy and Davis and Owen Simpson, both placed this year, so super proud of them. And then I'm excited to see what our baseball team's going to do this year. We've played Walnut Grove as a super good program with Coach Allen does a good job over there, but our Friday night, our baseball team, Blake McCullers' coach baseball team, beat Walnut Grove 2-1 in a really good, hard-fought game.
Pitching duel. Yeah.
Proud of the direction. Yes, it was, and proud of the direction of the baseball team. So that's a little quick synopsis. I'm sure I left somebody out. I'm going to hear about it. But.
No, you're covering all the bases, and that's good. The outlook is great. Coach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds. Tell us what's next over, say, the next 3 to 5 years, anything that you want to tackle or anything that you have on your plate that you want to discuss for Monroe Area High School as it relates to athletics.
Well, let me say this. Thank you to our Board of Education and our Superintendent, Chip Underwood. In the next few years, we will be adding video boards to all of our facilities, not just athletics, but it does include athletics, so we're benefiting from it. So in the stadium, we're going to have a 16 by 35 foot video board. It's going to be nice. It'll be for graduation, our band concert that we have. So it's going to be all encompassing, but athletics will definitely benefit. So video boards in all facilities. Super jacked about that. So thanks to the board for doing that.
I love it. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you the best of success with all of your programs at Monroe Area High School, and keep us posted as to what's going on in these spring sports.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's Coach Eli Connell. He is the athletic director of Monroe Area High School. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll be with my buddy Roy Roberts Jr. Stick around.
This is Q92.3 WMOQ FM, Bostwick, Monroe, Madison. Your home for real country.
Lake Life is the Lake Area's largest award-winning magazine, reaching over 25,000 readers. Pick up your copy of Lake Life magazine today. Get Lake Life free at over 100 convenient locations in Georgia's Lake Country. And keep in mind, you'll receive your free copy with a subscription to the Lake Oconee News or the Eatonton Messenger. Lake Life. It's all about the lives and events in Georgia's Lake Country. Call 706-485-3501 to subscribe. Lake Life, the biggest, the best, and it's free.
John's Supermarket in downtown Monroe is proud to serve the Walton County community for over 50 years. 3 generations of the Thompson family offering the freshest produce, quality meats, everyday essentials, and now featuring Bistro South, a quick service restaurant with freshly made Southern cuisine and ready-to-heat gourmet meals. Always proud to support local farmers and suppliers, John's Supermarket has the best meat in town and tons of weekly specials. Stop by and see them for all the ingredients, meals, snacks, sweets, gifts, and everything in between you need.
Serving Watkinsville and the surrounding area since 2002, it's Outdoor Specialty, featuring a wide variety of plants, trees, shrubs, ground cover, and more. Plus, you'll find a full line of irrigation supplies, like sprinkler heads, pipe, replacement parts, and more. Add some beauty to your home with a huge selection of pottery, landscape stones, mulch, and more. Step into the garden center and see their great selection of bird feeders, bird houses, Cole's bird seed, and so much more. Don't forget to pick up some of Elsie's apple-flavored deer corn. Stop in and say hello to Elsie, Diane, and the rest of the friendly staff at Outdoor Specialty, 1460 Greensboro Highway in Watkinsville. Open Monday through Saturday. Phone 706-769-8737. That's 706-769-8737. That's OutdoorSpecialtyNursery.com.
Welcome back, Marc McMain. That was a fun interview. Monroe Area High School's got it going on. All these schools
They're
have
so
something
awesome.
cool going
I
on,
love
right?
Monroe area. Yes.
Bass fishing.
Yep.
Can you imagine
Yep.
if there was bass fishing back when I was in high school, Chastity?
And Fridays off on
Friday,
top of that.
That's not even fair. It's not even school anymore. You're just having fun. You're waking up every day and going to have fun. You're just having a good time. Oh, that's great. Our next guest, my good buddy, Roy Roberts Jr. Roy, it's good to see you in person, my friend.
Hey, good to be here. It's a pleasure.
Well, I figure what we'd do, this was something that I think is long overdue, given a little bit of a family history of the Roberts family, of the Nunley family. But I'll kind of start it off. I'll kick it off by this. The way I really got to know your father, legendary GOP chairman of Walton County, when I decided to run for office about 5 years ago, man, it was probably about 6 years ago now that I think about it, I remember a good friend of mine, Greg Souther. He and I went and had lunch, and I told Greg I was going to run for office. And he said, well, there's a man you got to meet. He says, you have to meet Roy Roberts Sr. He is the chairman of the Walton County Republican Party, and he arranged this lunch. It was me, it was Greg, it was your father, and your dad was kind enough to take the time, because here I am, I'm a nobody on the political scale, right? I always said I was politically aware, but never politically active, so I wasn't a household name. And your dad really rolled up his sleeves and invested into me. It wasn't like he was giving me preferential treatment over the other candidates in the race, but just invested in me the tools to get involved, if that makes sense. And I'll never forget that, because it could have been easy for him to say, hey, you know what, go do some research and call me. That was not your dad. He rolled up his sleeves. He saw somebody that was wanting to make a difference, and he opened up that door. So forever debtful and grateful to your father for that.
Well, he's proud of a lot of things in his life, but probably none more than that GOP, that party, that he didn't build it completely, but he definitely put Walton County on the map with his leadership in that party, and he always thought a lot of you, that's for sure.
Wow.
And was glad to help in any way.
It was a blessing. It really was. So let's kind of take a step back. Tell me about the Roberts family, the Nunley family. Maybe just give me a little bit of origin, because I go places. I might be in Atlanta, and I'll walk and I'll see your family's name in different placards here and there. You guys have reach way outside of Walton County.
Well, it's mostly because we've been around here so long. We're longevity, I guess. We can trace our family roots. The Nunley side back into the late 1700s. I think it's my 5 great grandfather, John Nunley, moved to Athens from Virginia back in the late 1700s.
Are you serious? Wow.
And then his son, William Branch Nunley, that's my 4 great grandfather. He actually settled here in Good Hope, Nunley Shoals Road, which is right
down
around the corner.
Yeah.
And that farm now is owned by Jeff and Leanne Malcolm now. But anyway, but that road's named after them, and that's our origins in the county started there. And then it just kind of went down the line. My dad's grandfather was Roy Nunley.
Okay.
And my father's grandmother was Allie Felker. So the Felker family, that side of the family, had been here not quite that long, but almost as long.
But these are legacy Monroe names. I mean, so this, incredible foundation. So was your dad born in Monroe?
He was actually born in Atlanta. They lived in Monroe. He was born in Atlanta. And then I think by the time he was 1, they moved to Atlanta, where my grandfather, his father, started a law practice in Atlanta. So they moved from Monroe to Atlanta when he was very young. And that's where he grew up and spent all his high school days.
Wow. What brought the family back to Monroe?
So Dad went to college, went to University of Kentucky. One of the things I'm most proud of is he was, if not the first, the second scholarship player to play for Adolph Rupp at the University of Kentucky basketball.
Really?
And that's where he met my mom. So yeah, he was there for. There's many good stories that you go into there, but he played with a lot of really good players and a lot of future NFL, NBA players. And
I'm queuing up those stories in a little bit. Absolutely. Yeah. I want to hear about these.
Yeah. So he anyway, met my mom there. They got married almost as soon as they graduated from college, and they had no intent of moving anywhere else but coming straight back to the farm here in Monroe.
Now, was Mom from Kentucky?
Mom is from Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And not to just to throw her a bone too. She born and raised in Nashville, incredible musician, played piano, played with Bo Cephas' sister.
Who would that be, Chastity? Give us some country. You're going to research that, Chastity.
It's Hank Williams' daughter. They played in high school bands together.
Are you serious?
Yeah, when she was growing up. But anyway, she went to Kentucky on a music scholarship, and she's actually a direct descendant of President James K. Polk. So she is
Mom.
Suzanne Polk. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that just to throw her a little bone there too.
And I got to ask, I haven't seen your mom in a few weeks. How's she doing?
She's doing wonderful. I hope she's listening in. I tried to give her the info, but we'll see.
She's a beautiful lady, and I miss her playing the piano, playing the national anthem at the GOP meetings. Yep.
She loved it.
Yeah, no better way to start a meeting than hearing her play the piano. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. We're visiting with Roy Roberts Jr., talking about the Roberts family, Nunley family history. What are some stories maybe from your grandparents? And did you know your grandfather well? Did you know anybody past that? Tell me about your connectivity to that.
Both my grandparents, one of them, my dad's father, died. I believe the story's right. He actually had a heart attack at the mailbox in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
He died before I was born.
Okay.
So never met him. My mom's father, I think he held me one time, and then he passed away soon after that as a baby. And so never really knew either one of them. Of course, my grandmother, Noxie Nunley, which is my dad's mother.
Okay. Knew
her forever. She lived, I think she passed in 2012. No, probably 2006 or 7, I think.
Okay.
But great lady. She's the family historian. I wish I could ask her some questions about the family history, because she knew it all.
Well, our family, we kind of had that too, and our family started up in I don't know. I guess I have to ask my mom and dad. My mom's Michigan, my dad was the Carolinas, and all over the place. Big family, very little presence in Georgia. Matter of fact, when we moved to Georgia, white pages were still a thing, and I remember pulling up my last name. We were the only McMain in the state of Georgia, at least at that time, because the white pages pretty much covered Greater Atlanta and the whole 9 yards. So when we have somebody in the family that does that, whether it's a family tree or some type of genealogy, of course it's a lot easier now with technology and the DNA tools that they have. But back then it had to be done via research. You had to go court records and find out all the details of when somebody came here, when they got married, the kids they had. So there's so much respect I have for people that do that in the family. Any stories that you have from that about your grandparents and any other thing that resonates with you still today?
So I always appreciate when I come into downtown and someone sort of new to the town sort of gives credit to some of the forefathers. Not necessarily a story, but Chad Draper, I've always really appreciated. He brought back the names of my 2 great grandmother and grandfather. William Hartwell Nunley founded Nunley Lumber and the Nunley business that was downtown Monroe.
Okay.
His wife is Eulalia Gober, and so Eulalia Gober Nunley. He named his building the Eulalia Building after her.
Really?
And for whatever reason, every time I go by there, it makes me feel good that he used my family's name to name his building. And of course, next door to that building was the original Nunley building, where my great grandfather started the Nunley business, which became Nunley Lumber in Monroe.
Wow!
After that,
I think younger generations maybe. I don't know if there's a disconnection between them and their family legacy. And again, I look at it from a perspective from where I come from. transplanted to Georgia, so I didn't have a lot of family here. There's so much value in knowing who your grandparents were, your great-grandparents, your great-great. If they participated, they serve our country, where they, I think on my side of the family, you can go back and you can find that there was actually people that were on both sides of the Civil War, ancestors of mine. Do you think that there's a little bit of a disconnect with the younger generation, that they just don't ask? Because that was always a big deal for me when I was younger. It's like, hey, we're all American, but you say, what nationality are you? Are you Irish? Are you Scotch? Are you French? Are you German?
Right.
What is your background? I don't know that people ask that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I almost think that it's not very important to people that much anymore.
Yeah,
in my personal opinion. I mean, speaking of the war, downtown, I know most of the schools do tours of the cemetery and take them by the statues and tell who the people are. But the big statue in the middle of our cemetery is Matthew Talbot Nunley, who is I guess he would be classified as a cousin of some sort. But his mother, so his mother would be my 4 great-grandmother.
Okay. Yep.
So I don't know how that works out, but anyway, that's something that's always pretty cool. That this right there in the middle of town.
Is that the cemetery that's right next to Brown Oil Company?
Yeah,
yep.
it is.
Yeah,
and
okay.
he served in let's see. So he served in. I'm trying to remember which war it was. He served. It was the Civil War. I'm sorry. He served in the Civil War.
Have you taken the kids to go and tour that and show them?
We've been around for sure.
Yeah.
We've unfortunately been to the cemetery a lot in the last few years.
No, I know.
But yeah, that's kind of a cool little thing, I think.
Fantastic legacy. I love it. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to learn more about Roy Roberts Sr., Roy's dad, get some of those stories from his time playing basketball at Kentucky, and then finding out how did he get involved in politics and become the chairman of the Walton County Republican Party. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whether you're mowing, grading, or just taking care of your property, you need the proven reliability of #1 selling Kubota compact tractors to help you get it all done right. Stop by today. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment with 0% financing available or save up to $3,250. Now through February 28th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Your local Kubota dealer is Hayes Tractor, located at 545 Highway 11 in Social Circle. Online at HayesTractor.com.
Affordable housing is just around the corner at Cimarron Park. Cimarron Park is a mobile community located on Harry Arnold Road, just off of Highway 78 in Monroe, that offers 2- and 3-bedroom homes with spacious wooded lots, lit streets, and a family-friendly atmosphere. Some homes are for sale with available financing. Call James for all the details. 404-401-1068. That's 404-401-1068. Or go to CimarronPark.com.
Ready to grow your small business and reach thousands of new customers? Say hello to Town Values Magazine, formerly MTM Shopper, proudly serving the community for 22 years. Every month, thousands of magazines are mailed directly to homes in Walton, Oconee, Barrow, Rockdale, Newton, Gwinnett, and beyond to further expand your reach. Our magazine is packed with valuable coupons and services offered, helping families save money while supporting the community they love. We specialize in local direct marketing that works, building your brand, driving sales, and connecting you with the customers who matter most. Plus, we're online at townvalues.com and on Facebook and Instagram, giving your business even more exposure in print and digital. Ready to reserve your space in the next edition? Call Liliana at 770-267-6650. Town Values Magazine. Local, trusted, powerful. Helping businesses grow and families save.
Welcome back. Marc McMain, our guest, is Roy Roberts Jr., talking about the legacy of his family, specifically his father now, because this is a really fantastic story. Roy, you said you had a couple stories that you want to share. Let's start off with, how did your dad, what was his path to go and play for that legendary team in Kentucky, to play basketball?
So he and both his brothers went to Northside High School in Atlanta, and they were a powerhouse, a sports powerhouse, and they all played football and basketball. My Uncle Jimmy played baseball. They all excelled. My 2 uncles played football at Georgia, and my dad probably had more football scholarships than he did basketball.
Did he really? Okay.
So he was a center, and the name escapes me, but the quarterback that he had went to Georgia Tech, and he was a superstar there. And I can't. They were just like a really good team together.
But he had colleges going after him for football as well.
He did. He actually visited Georgia. Was on the sidelines during the practice, and one of the players got hurt and fell down on the ground kind of near where my dad was standing, and Wally Butts was coaching, and one of the assistant coaches came over to him and said, "Hey, Billy Bob, get up off the ground." The guy said, "I can't, I'm hurt." He said the coach reared back and kicked him in the stomach, told him to get off the field, and supposedly that was the day my dad decided he was going to go play basketball.
The good old days of coaching. They don't do them like that anymore.
That was a story he loved to tell, and it is always funny.
What position was he being recruited for in college?
Offensive line. He played center all through high school, so he would have been probably a center in college.
But I saw pictures of your dad. Your dad was a tall, slender guy.
I think the most he weighed, he was 6'4", and he probably weighed about 220.
Okay, so
at his height.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, so he had some mass.
He had a little mass, and back then, I mean, that's all you really needed back in those days to be a lineman.
Yeah,
unlike today.
Yeah.
But
what position did he play in basketball?
He was a forward in basketball.
Okay,
and he just had a great high school basketball career, and was heavily recruited for basketball. And the year before, he went to Kentucky in '58, so he was there from '58 to '63. Kentucky won the national championship the year before, so that was one of the biggest reasons he decided to go to Kentucky and choose them.
Any unique stories from his time there in Kentucky? Because I said legendary coach that he played under.
Yeah, so he back in those days you were not allowed to play as a freshman. So you basically had your sophomore, junior, senior year unless you redshirt to play.
And it counted against your eligibility if you didn't redshirt, even though you couldn't play.
Well, you can't. The rules just disallowed freshmen from taking the court in a game. But you could practice, you just couldn't play. So. So anyway, he went through his freshman year and then went through his sophomore year. He wasn't getting much playing time. Actually, I believe it was his junior year, his true junior year, where he was starting to play a little bit, but not much. The whole team went to, I believe it was a Rotary meeting up in Lexington. Coach Rupp took the whole team out to a Rotary meeting and just talking about the team and whatnot. Yeah. And they opened the field up to questions for the players. And one of the great players that Daddy played with was Billy Ray Lickert, who also went to play in the NBA. But he's one of the stars back then. Somebody in the crowd asked, they said, "Billy Ray, who is the best defender you played against in your college career?" And he thought for a second and goes, "There is no doubt. Roy Roberts is the best defender I've ever played against." And he's played against Havlicek and all the greats back in the day.
And that's from their internal scrimmages they would have.
From practice, yeah. And so anyway, it kind of got Coach Rupp's attention, and I think Harry Lancaster was one of the crazy assistants back then, got his attention too. And so anyway, when they got back, he went and asked Billy Ray Lickert what he's talking about. He said, "That guy is the best defender in the country, hands down."
You're kidding me.
So Coach Rupp went to my dad and said, "You know what, Roy, we're going to take a second look at you. We're going to offer you a red shirt for this year, and then that'll give you 2 more years of eligibility to come back and play." And so he came back his red shirt junior year and became a starter that year, and then a starter in his senior year, and he was team captain that year.
That is incredible.
So,
what a great story.
It was a really cool story.
That is so cool. What kind of – do you remember and obviously – you weren't born yet, but do you remember the seasons? Did you go back and look at the statistics of how those two teams, his junior year and his senior year when he was playing, how they performed?
Yeah, so his junior year, I did go back and research this to remind me, but I believe they won the SEC, but got a round or two in the NCAA tournament and lost. And probably the same thing for his senior year as well.
Yeah, because they were probably a perennial NCAA team every year.
They were. And they ended up winning it again, I think, 2 years after my dad when I think Rupp's Runts, Pat Riley, and some of those guys were playing.
Got you. You're listening to Marc McMain, our guest, Roy Roberts Jr., talking about his dad, his legacy. So after college, you said your mom and dad get married. Then is that what brings him back to Monroe? They decided to settle here?
Yes, so he actually got drafted by the Kansas City team, the NBA team. But back then, I mean, it was probably a later round draft pick, and back then there was no money in the NBA, and he was ready to move on, I think.
He'd been there and done that, yeah.
And start a career. So he took a job with the Department of Agriculture in Atlanta, and that was his major, was agriculture. And so he came back to work in Atlanta, live at the farm, and I don't think there was ever he ever gave that a second thought.
Yeah, that was it. That was his destination.
Yeah, and then my sister was born within a year after being married and back, and the rest is history.
What was his introduction into politics? Because again, when everybody, if you were to walk through town right now and say Roy Roberts Sr., everyone's like, yeah, legendary chairman of the Walton County Republican Party. Where did that come from?
My earliest memories are probably between my dad and his good buddy Matt Thompson, who's also a Good Hope native.
Mm-hmm.
The two of them hit it off right off the bat, and Matt was he's probably a couple years older than my dad, was already sort of in the political realm.
Yeah.
And I think he has probably had the biggest part of getting my dad into politics, probably more than anybody else did. And just my earliest memories are my dad actually ran for the state house. I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
He actually ran against Bobby Carroll, his good buddy.
Wow.
Yeah. Bobby had already been serving, and Dad, I think Bobby was a Democrat at the time. Daddy was trying to be a Republican, which was kind of rare back in those days in Georgia.
That was probably then that would have been the 80s?
No, that's early, mid-70s.
Mid-70s, yeah. Republicans were few and far between in Georgia at that time.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, and I'm going to kind of jump in front of you on this because, and allow you to set the table of how he, his path to becoming chairman of the Walton County Republican Party. Your father passed away, good Lord, Roy, now has it been 3 years?
2022.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was March 30th, 2022.
Boy, it seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It's so I remember when your father passed away, left a huge void. Again, if anyone had ever attended a Walton County Republican Party, I'm not talking about the barbecue. We'll set that aside for a second. I'm talking about just the regular monthly meetings. It was an event. It was a spectacle because, first off, very well attended. Now, when I came, they were meeting at the old VFW, which is now a county health clinic,
Mm-hmm.
but they met at the old VFW. Not the best air conditioning in the world. So if it's summertime, you're going in, you're sweating. It would be packed to the gills, and your father would work hard to bring in very good speakers, whether they were candidates running for office or elected officials to come and share what's going on. And your dad was known for putting the gas on people to, hey, you want to get elected in Walton County, you need to show up and
That's
speak
right.
to our constituents and our voters. So when your father passed away, it left a huge void in that, and I had the honor of the first phone call I had was to you to be sure this was not something that you wanted to do. And you were like, hey, Mark, I'm dealing with a lot. I'm dealing with the passing of my father, dealing with the estate. So I ran and became chairman of the Walton County Republican Party. It was incredible, the momentum that he had built. All I had to do was just add a couple little organizational tidbits here and there. But this was a party that had enthusiasm, it had attendance, it had membership, it had all this momentum. And that's a tribute to him and what he did. How did he start this, or what was his path of taking over the GOP?
Well, it actually was, I'm going to guess here on the date, but probably around 1998 or so. We had great guys that were running the Republican Party. I don't recall their names, but really wasn't going anywhere. It's just, you go to a meeting, there might be 10 people there,
right.
all the same people kind of thing. And Daddy was really wanting to get that ramped up and do something a little different. And I hate to even admit this, but he sort of performed a coup of some sorts and called his 40, 50 closest friends and said, hey, they're having elections down for the chairman of the Republican Party. I'd like
Guess who wants to be chairman?
Yeah. I'd like for y'all to come down and support me.
Yeah.
So, they're having their normal 10-man party, getting ready to have elections, and they asked for nominations from the floor, and somebody said, I nominate Roy Roberts. And somebody said, I second it. And he goes, okay, and wasn't really expecting it. And they held the vote, and it was about 50-10, and my dad became chairman.
All of a sudden, 40 people pour into the meeting. Say, we're all
Like,
these
wow,
folks.
we're having a really good meeting tonight.
Oh, that's what. Any memories from yourself? Did you ever attend the meetings prior to your father taking over, or did you only attend after Dad became chairman?
Mainly after. We'd go every now and then. I mean, I was fresh out of college and had other things on my mind, and but yeah, once Dad became chairman, we all...
You took a little interest in it at that point.
We did, yeah.
Any early memories of what it was like? Because the first thing that anyone's going to tell you, if they've ever been to a meeting conducted by Roy Roberts Sr., is he always opened the meeting with a joke. And the jokes were not necessarily, white lily jokes. Sometimes his jokes had a little firepower.
He always walked straight right up to the line. Occasionally, he would step 1 foot over the line and then pull it back real quick. But most of his jokes were of that vein. Yeah, so he.
I remember my dear friend Tommy Fountain, pastor of 1025 Church. For a spell, they allowed us to move from the VFW into 1025 Church, which was just a massive step up for us. Right? Beautiful facility. You had the nice big screens in the background. And I remember your dad was leading a meeting. I don't know who the speakers were that night, but your dad says this joke, and the joke was actually really, really funny, but the punchline was edgy. And I'm sitting next to Pastor Tommy, and Tommy looks over and he says, "I don't like that one." And I remember thinking, we're probably going to have to find a new place to hold our meetings.
Oh, that's so funny.
But
Tommy's such a good guy.
Oh, I love Tommy. But Tommy's also none of that in my house.
Right.
But your dad, it was just in my opinion, it was a look into his heart. He wanted to start the meetings with some levity, and then I just telling you, if you went to the meetings, the interaction between the crowd and the speakers was always, it was just enthusiasm. There was a lot of feedback, great questions, a lot of cheering. He created something special, Roy.
That's right.
He really did.
And so a lot of that too. So he grew up in Atlanta, and he created a million relationships with people who started coming up through the ranks and becoming politicians in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, he and Sam Nunn were good buddies. They were both in the very first Leadership Georgia class, for example. But it got to once, and Dad was also well known because he had that Kentucky, that Kentucky
That's right,
history.
background. Yeah, right.
Everybody in Atlanta, all his buddies they grew up with, everybody knew about it. So I mean, growing up, and I think my sister can tell this story better than me. But she, when she went to college and would go visit people and all her friends all around the state, she'd always say that I'm from Monroe, Georgia, and almost every time that she did that, the parents of her friends or whoever she was talking to said, "Well, hey, there's a guy that played for Kentucky back in Monroe. Do you happen to know him?" Because yeah, that's my dad.
Think of that.
But he had a very vast network of friends
Yeah.
and relationships that he built, and all these politicians, they all wanted to come to his meetings. One, because Walton County is very important, and two, because they're friends with my dad.
Yeah.
But three, because they actually had fun. And that's something, in my opinion, is different from a lot of party
I agree.
GOP
Yeah.
parties in there. You've been to a lot of them. I know you probably tell me more. But he had fun, and the people that came to the meetings had fun.
Hence the big attendance.
Right, that's
if people know, hey, it's going to start on time, end on time, and I'm going to be entertained. Look, you want to be educated, you want to be informed, but you also want to be entertained, right? You want to walk out feeling like, hey, that was a well-spent hour of my evening. So I think he checked all those boxes. We're going to take a quick break. Before we do, what would you say were some of the strengths in his leadership? What was his style? Because, again, I only got to know your dad for a few years before he passed away. I got to observe him once a month, right, in that capacity as chairman. What did you see? What would you say his leadership style was, and how? And you talked about the connectivity that he had, but in running the meetings, was he strict? Was he firm? Was he more carefree? What was his strengths and weaknesses
in running the meeting itself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or just even in the business side, in the agricultural side.
I mean, he had a loving heart. He cared for people. But he also had a side to him too, where if he wanted something done and knew that it needed to be done, he would get on you, and make sure that it got done. And for example, getting these guys to come to his meetings, if they would hem and haw a little bit, I mean, like you said earlier, said, "Do you want to win Walton County or not? Then you need to be here." And he was strong. He'd strong arm some of these politicians. And
he'd leverage himself and get them out
exactly
here.
right.
Hey, I love it. I think if you're running for office, you got to go talk to the voters, and you may not have another chance than going to these meetings.
And before every meeting, as you know, Mark, he got on the phone, spent 3 hours the night before every meeting, and called people to tell them the meeting's tomorrow night. You need to be there.
So, I'm glad you said that. We'll cue this in before we take our break. So when I became chairman of the Walton County Republican Party, I can't tell you how many of the members would say, "Now, Mark, Roy Sr. would call me every Sunday night to remind me of the meeting," and I'm looking at this roster of members, and there was 250, 300 names on this, and I'm like, if you think I'm going to spend 3 hours of my Sunday calling y'all, so we implemented a handy dandy text reminding tool, which was great. Wasn't the same as having your dad call you, but it was a good second place. But I know your dad did that because people would tell me, where's my reminder call? I forgot about the meeting. Oh, that's too good. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show, visiting with Roy Roberts Jr., talking about his father's legacy. When we come back, we're going to talk about the legendary Roy Roberts Sr. barbecue. This is a big event. I can't wait to find out how this thing formed, and we're going to talk about what it involves. Stick around, folks.
Since 1979, the Tim Stewart Funeral Home family has been caring for families in their time of need. The Tim Stewart family pledges to honor your loved one with excellence in service, compassion, and will guide you in making the right decisions. To learn more about the Tim Stewart Funeral Home family, stop in at one of their 3 locations in Monroe, Loganville, and Lawrenceville. Call 770-267-2594 or go to stewardfh.com.
Hey, this is Doug.
And this is Robbie.
We own and operate Foy Tree Service.
When you need tree cutting, stump grinding, lot clearing, mulching, firewood, and more, call Foy Tree Service.
Serving Morgan County and surrounding area since 1987.
With top quality service and fair prices, we take pride in our work, and we do everything to make sure that you are a happy customer.
That's Foy Tree Service. Call us at 706-342-8733.
That's 706-342-TREE.
Madison Flooring, located at 1167 Eatonton Road in Madison, is your full service and professional installation center for all kinds of flooring, from tile, carpet, laminate, wood. They even do showers. They have granite and quartz countertops. All military, police, firefighters, and teachers ask for your discount. Madison Flooring is locally owned and operated. For knowledgeable and friendly service, call 706-431-5152.
If you're in the construction business, you're going to need a dumpster at some point in time, and that's why you need to call Atha Equipment Rental in Monroe, now offering 20 and 30-yard cans. Atha Equipment Rental now offers a complete line of landscape and construction equipment like tools, trenchers, floor sanders, jackhammers, and so much more, like rentals for your parties with tables, chairs, popcorn machines, Dunkin' booths, and more. Call Jason Atha at 770-207-6041. That's Atha Equipment Rental on East Spring Street in Monroe.
Need a little pick-me-up? We've got just the thing. From Motown magic to British invasion brilliance, from classic country gold to rock and roll that raised a gentleman. We play the songs that make you smile, sing along, and remember when life moved just a little slower. Feel good again with the 50s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s on Good Time Oldies FM 102.5 WKUN, where every song is a memory waiting to happen.
Welcome back. Marc McMain visiting with my friend Roy Roberts Jr., discussing his father, the family legacy. Roy, I think we left out a pretty cool little snippet about your father's career at Kentucky. What did you have queued up for us?
Yeah, I have my brother Marshall fact checking me as we go along.
Texting
here.
You in real time.
In real time. Stanley Gann was a quarterback that played with my dad that went on to play for Tech for started all 4 years.
Yeah.
And the other one he reminded me of. So my dad, they lost in the Mid-Eastern Regional Finals both years, both times to Ohio State. My dad's junior and senior year.
Okay.
Jerry Lucas and John Havlicek were on that team, and those are well-known superstars, NBA stars. But my dad guarded John Havlicek and held him to his lowest scoring output of the entire season. When my dad guarded him, he was a defensive specialist, so he got to guard the other team.
Your dad was a bona fide shutdown defender.
He was.
I love that.
He was.
I'd like to go back and look at the statistics. Have you ever been able to go back and look at footage of your dad? Is there anything that you can access?
No, we have all of it. Unfortunately, it's all on VCR tapes.
Yeah.
The University of Kentucky putting them together. He went back up there for an alumni deal some years ago, but they put together a whole. Basically, we may have gotten it transferred to compact disc, but I can't remember. But yeah, we used to watch them all the time.
I bet you that's fun to go back and see that.
But we also got to play with them too, believe it or not.
It's a little one-on-one in the.
Well, no, a little bit of that, but church leagues here in town. So when I finished college, and my brother was finishing college, and my dad, we played the men's league around town.
Now, did you have to play against him? Or you get to play with him?
No, we played with him on
Okay.
the same team.
Yeah.
And we get Richard Hester, James Hester, and recruit a buddy of mine, a good buddy, K.A., fraternity brother of mine over. And we had a blast. But anyway, he could still play was the thing. Even at that age, he'd kind of camp out around the three-point line and just jack threes and drill them. I mean, it was automatic.
If you got close, did he give you a good elbow to the rib cage?
But when we would play against him in practice, whatever, I mean, he was strong and physical, and I can see where he would be a good defender.
Well, I got to play tennis with your dad. Your dad was one heck of a tennis player up into his 80s.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
I think he played tennis up to maybe a couple years before he passed away.
He did. He did. It was his eyesight that kind of did him in on that.
Yeah.
And one last thing about basketball,
Sure.
they won, and I think it was the 70-year and older, so I think it was 70 to 74, men's 3-on-3 senior Olympics, and I believe it was in San Francisco, California.
Are you kidding me?
He and one All-American from Georgia that he played against, and one All-SEC guy from Georgia, Jimmy Pitts, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but anyway, they were a team, and they would compete in tournaments all into the 70s.
And they won the championship.
They won the entire thing.
That is too cool. Wow. What I find so impressive isn't just the athletic accolades that he had going to Kentucky and being a premier athlete. It's that he still competed through his entire life, right, in finding different sports. So even playing basketball into your 70s tells you something right there, but playing tennis, staying active, staying fit. So what genes did you get? You're a tennis guy. I know that. I don't think I've ever seen you in a tennis court, but I heard you're one heck of a tennis player.
Well, I claim to be. Anyway, no, we played tennis. So my dad started playing when he finished, basically when he finished college. That's when he started playing.
Yeah.
So I played tennis since I was 2, 3, 4
Was that
years
your
old.
sport? Was that kind of your go-to?
Well, that was where I started playing that probably before basketball, but it's tennis and basketball.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, pretty competitive.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
We're going to get you out in the courts. You got to go easy on me, though.
Yeah.
Go easy.
I mean, I'm very rusty, so.
If you're too good, I put you on my side.
That's right. That's right.
I'm smart. Oh, too good. So let's shift gears a little bit about our conversation now. Let's kind of talk about the barbecue. So when we think about the Walton County GOP, you cannot talk about it without talking about the legendary barbecue that I'm assuming, did your dad start this barbecue? Was this his baby?
Mm-hmm, it was.
Do you remember the first year he did it?
I'm pretty sure the first year was 2000, and I think I've told this story at one of the barbecues within the last couple of years, but the very first barbecue was the year that Sonny Perdue ran for governor.
Okay.
Sonny Perdue came to Monroe to one of my dad's earliest GOP meetings on a Monday night, and officially, publicly announced then and there that he was going to run. He was going to switch parties from Democrat to Republican, and run for governor as a Republican.
Wow.
He technically the day before at church announced it to a lot of people at his church, but that was the first time he had actually gone out public. So he made his announcement in Monroe, Georgia at the GOP monthly meeting.
That's incredible.
So that year, we called it Sonny's Barbecue, and it was the very first of the barbecues.
Then did your dad host it? Was it at his barn?
Yeah,
at
it was
at the farm?
At the farm, and Sonny obviously was he was the guest of honor.
Yeah.
And once he announced, and by that time everybody said, "Wow, this guy's probably going to win this thing." All congressmen, people running for Congress, all state legislators running, they all showed up.
They wanted to be a part of it.
They wanted to be a part of that.
Do you remember? Did you go to that barbecue? Were you
I
there?
did. Oh yeah.
Dad put
we
you to work. I'm sure.
worked our tails off getting ready for it. We didn't have that massive GOP budget that you left us with.
Well, what was the attendance like at the first part? Do you remember? Do you remember what it felt like?
I just remember it was a huge crowd. We'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And but I mean, each year it grew and grew and grew. I mean, we had close to 1,000 people at times.
Are you kidding me? 1,000 people?
Yeah. I'd venture to guess there are probably at least 500 at that one.
That's
that
incredible.
First one.
Yeah, it's. I'd always heard about it. I think the first time I went was maybe, again, 5-6 years ago, and it had shifted locations. I believe it was a different location at that time, but that's kind of synonymous with Walton County was the barbecue, and it then became the place to be. And so I know when I took over as chairman of the GOP, we hadn't had the barbecue for a few years. Because was it an annual event that your father hosted?
I had it almost every year, unless something. I mean, I guess COVID or. That was probably the only time we didn't have it was probably during the COVID. But I take that back. one of the years right in there when Trump was running.
I think it was Loeffler and Perdue were in that runoff. It was somewhere
That's
around
what
that.
it was. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
So that was the last time I think that you guys had the barbecue.
That's exactly right.
As the Walton County barbecue. So there's a few year hiatus where we didn't have a barbecue. And when I became chairman, I remember I called you and I said, Roy, we got to bring the barbecue back. And so we named it in memory of your father. And I don't remember the first year we did this, but there had been a few years off where we didn't have a barbecue. So you and I were discussing, where are we going to hold this? So I came out to your place, and we went to the barn where your dad hosted this. And I'll never forget, you and I are staring at the barn, and we're thinking about all the work that goes into this. Right. And I'm like, Bruce Verge has a real nice place down the road.
Well, keep in mind, my mom and dad did a majority of the work.
Cleaning up and getting it ready?
Up. Yeah.
Wow.
They did.
But there's something to be said for it being in the barn. It kind of had that
feel.
Yeah,
that's right.
That special feel. Not that nothing. No knock on the towers now. The
right.
towers
It's
is
beautiful.
a pretty nice place to host an event. But that was, I think, you and I made that decision. It's like, we're spread thin. We got a lot of things going on in our life. Let's make it easy on us. And what was a blessing to me is when we brought it back in that first year, and we had it at the towers at Snow's Mill. Not only did we have great people coming in to speak and address the crowd, we had great attendance. And It was no 1,000 people, but I think we had north of 300 people come in that building, and it was just a special night.
Yeah, I agree. It was well done. It was perfect.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. We're visiting with Roy Roberts Jr., talking about the legendary GOP barbecue. So now Vince Jonte is doing a great job. He's taking over as chairman of the Walton County Republican Party. They're having the barbecue. Shifted gears a little bit because I guess you guys typically did it in the spring before I became chairman. We did ours in the fall for a couple of years, and now it's going back to the spring. And this is, I think, up in a couple of months. It'll be here again.
April 23rd, I believe, is the date. Yeah.
Yeah. You excited about it?
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Yeah. New location this year. I think they're doing it right down the street at the
old Hester Farm in Good Hope.
Is that the old Hester Farm?
It is. That's where Dick Hester grew up.
Really?
It is.
Okay. Now, what is it called? Nine Oaks?
Nine Oaks. I couldn't think of the name, but
yeah.
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a great venue. Great food, a lot of fun. They'll have music. They'll have, obviously, elected officials will come. I don't think candidates get to speak, but the elected officials get to come, and they get to give an update, maybe a little bit of a 2 or 3 minute rah-rah speech.
Well, word has it that Rick Jackson will probably be there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good buddies with one of his campaign consultants, and threw it out there to him, and it's not official confirmation, but I think he's got it on the calendar to try to get there.
And I really think if you are running for office, it doesn't matter if it's something on the county level all the way up to a statewide office, this is a must-attend event because of the volume of people who are there and what it means to Walton County. So if there's one thing that you do in Walton County, you come to the Roy Roberts Senior annual GOP barbecue. That's got to be on your calendar. Right. And I think Rick Jackson might be coming on our show at the end of this week. Not 100% verified, but if we get that pulled off, we'll let everyone know. One other thing before we take our final break here, Roy, let's talk about Bo. I was so thrilled to see him at the last meeting. Looks like he now has an interest in picking up where Dad left off and getting involved.
Yeah, that's one thing. My son, Bo, he's Roy the Third. He's proud of that, as I am too. And he and my dad were really two peas in a pod.
Were they?
I mean, I think Bo's kind of like me and definitely like my dad, that if he had all the money in the world, he'd quit doing everything and live on that farm and raise cattle.
Yeah.
And but anyway, he's got a really good medical sales job, so that will provide him a lot of time to work on the farm as he's old like me. So.
He can work on the farm at leisure, not for necessity.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But he's running the farm now. But he is. So I just stepped down as third vice chair, and Bo took my spot as third vice chair. So he's now an officer.
Is it official?
It is official.
Wow!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That was official last month, I believe.
What would Dad say? Your father be so.
He's smiling down, no doubt about it. He's glad to see that Roy Roberts is still interested, and that hopefully will climb the ladder one day and maybe be chair.
3 generations of politics in the Republican Party of Walton County. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Take one more break. Be back. We're going to talk about the culture of politics in today's era.
Need Need a hot biscuit in the morning? You'll find that at Stripling's General Store. Need a hot lunch like chicken with some of your favorite side dishes? You'll find that at Stripling's General Store. How about some yummy barbecue or Brunswick stew for dinner? You'll find that at Stripling's General Store. Plus, there's ice, fuel, snacks, cold beverages, and so much more. It's your one-stop shop. That's Stripling's General Store, Highway 78 East and Highway 53 in Bogart. Open 7 days a week.
Covington Ford has something for everyone, from the power and comfort of a brand new F-150 to the family-friendly Explorer or the trail-ready Bronco. Covington Ford wants to be your #1 local Ford dealer by offering no haggle, below invoice pricing, and interest rates as low as 0% for 60 months. We believe your adventure should be limitless, not your coverage, so we're giving you a lifetime powertrain warranty on nearly all new Ford inventory. Come check us out in person or visit us online at covingtonford.net. Your next journey starts at Covington Ford.
Leadfoot Mulching and Grading offers land clearing, hauling of gravel and sand, and more. And now offering screen topsoil for the farmer or homeowner, asphalt paving, and more. No job is too big or small. Locally owned and operated, it's Leadfoot Mulching and Grading, serving all of North Georgia. Fair prices and great customer service. Phone 404-909-5227 or go to leadfootmulching.com.
Big news, Georgia drivers. DJ's Collision is on the move and is proud to announce their brand new home in Madison. After many years of service in Social Circle, the same team you know and trust is back with a fresh new look and location to serve you best. From flawless paint jobs to complete bodywork, DJ's Collision is where your car gets a second chance to shine. Check out their brand new location in Madison at 1231 Woodcraft Road. That's DJ's Collision. Give them a call at 770-760-8214.
Welcome back, Marc McMain. Roy Roberts Jr. is in studio with me, revisiting his father's legacy, the GOP barbecue, his time as chairman of the Walton County GOP, his basketball career. What a great story! A lot of fun, Roy. I really appreciate you doing this. I've learned a lot, and it's kind of fun to reminisce and revisit this because, like I said, I got to know your dad, but in very limited fashion. Right? It was maybe a few minutes before the meetings, a few minutes after the meetings, and then the occasional lunch here and there. I will tell you this, to kind of show you the influence that your father had. I'm not going to name any names in this. One day, your dad and I went and had lunch. Went over to John's Supermarket, went to the little bistro, and we're there and we're having lunch. And a prominent figure in Walton County walks in. I'm not going to say his title, but he's a prominent figure in Walton County. And your father says, "Hey, I want to introduce you to this guy. This is Mark. He's running for office. Bing, bang, boom, whatever he said." And this prominent figure said, "Roy, because you're supporting him, I'll vote for him." That tells you something. That's firepower right there. That's firepower.
That's funny.
How did your dad and you, again, growing up in a political household, we're in a different culture right now. There's social media can be cruel. People can be very vociferous. They don't let their feelings hide. And if they find out that maybe you're not 100% politically aligned with where they are, things can get uncomfortable. I have friends who don't share my political beliefs, and we get along great. We figure out how to navigate that. We might butt heads on certain policy things or various topical issues, but at the end of the day, these are people that I love, and I consider them friends, and it doesn't breach that friendship for me. That's not the case with everybody. Sometimes friendships are ended. And you've had family members decide not to come over for Thanksgiving because of that. I don't think that's healthy. I think
I agree.
We have to keep it. Yeah, fight for what you want to fight for, but don't let it destroy a friendship or a family member's relationship. What are your thoughts on that? What have you seen, being that you've had a front row seat to this over the past couple of decades?
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. It's just social media has changed everything, and it's people are rude on social media, and they're now becoming rude in public.
Yeah.
And they don't care, and it's just a different world we live in now. And I don't know if that'll ever be fixed or not. But it's just But like you said, I mean, one great thing about my dad, he was highly political and strong in his beliefs. But he had friends that didn't agree with him, and they were great friends.
Yeah.
He would always throw a joke at them, and
Yeah, keep it lighthearted.
Lighthearted,
Yeah.
Some or other, and they kind of bicker back and forth for a second, but then they're fine afterwards. But that doesn't happen anymore. It's like you said, once someone figures out that your beliefs don't align with theirs, then they check out.
And again, I love political discourse as long as it's cordial and it's professional and it's done in the right platforms. But and that's a two-way street. I find it disappointing when you see those from our side that viscerally attack somebody else. There's a time and a place for everything, and boy, you just don't end friendships over it. That's for sure, or relationships with your family members.
Yeah.
Now, I think on this show, I've joked about it when we first started the show a few months back. I said I'm going to discuss everything that you don't talk about at the Thanksgiving or Christmas table, and I think we've held true to that. I broach many a subject, and I've had guests come on this show, Roy, that probably, I'm assuming, I've never dug into it, but probably don't align with me politically. And I've had some guests say, hey, I don't want to talk politics. I'm like, absolutely not. We'll talk about what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been respectful of that. I'm not gonna drag somebody into an uncomfortable conversation. I just want to be sure that, if there's something that's on my mind, I'm going to say it. And, sometimes I have people come up to me afterward and say, what do you think of this? Why did you say that? So, hey, I'm a human being. I'm going to say what's on my mind.
Right.
What does it take to win politically, whether it's locally, statewide? I've said that if you look at the roster of candidates that are running for office on the Republican ticket, whether it's from governor all the way down to local races, our bench is deep. We have really good people running for these races. Many of these seats, we'd be happy with anybody to win the nomination and go back and win in November. What does it take right now politically, do you think, for somebody to win a race in what can be a congested political environment? And I'm talking maybe right now Republican primaries.
That's a great question. I don't know that I know the answer.
What did you see?
What I would say in the general, especially the general election, ground game is everything.
Yeah.
And I think that is where our side has struggled the last few elections, is with our ground game. And I worry about it coming up, too, with just, I don't know, what's the word, the midterm.
The midterms coming
curse,
up,
basically, of what generally happens. If we don't get a severe ground game going, it's not going to be a great day for us in November. But the primaries, it's a tough one. I mean, to me, it's all about name recognition. I do believe, because like you said, there's so many names out there, and some of them have been around for a long time. We're talking about Rick Jackson just entered the race just out of the blue. But
see, I didn't know Rick.
Did not either.
So did you know that? Was that a household name to you?
Never heard of him.
Yeah,
never heard of him.
But he's made a splash.
He's made a splash, and he's going to drop $50 million of his own dollar. He's not going to ask for one penny.
Yeah,
he's going to spend $50 million of his own money, and he has a commercial that comes on every other commercial.
I've seen it.
Like. Yeah.
I've seen it. It's very. He's spending the money. It's one thing to say you're going to put in $50 million. It's another thing to do it, and I think he's already done it.
So it'll be interesting to see if that phenomenon works. I mean, it'll be. I don't know that that's this short notice. I mean, what are we, a month out, 2 months out from the primary?
Not even 3 months. Yeah, less than 3 months. Right.
And he jumped in less than a month ago.
That's like the 11th hour. Yeah, especially in a big race like this.
It'll be a test for sure to see if that works.
Yeah, and I think if going back to the primaries, there's an element to this where you are running against other people who probably share your values for the most part. If you're going to win a Republican nomination in the state of Georgia, whether it's county or state level, you have to be singing from the same hymnal, right? There's important things that are crucially important to the core, to the base of the Republican Party. And so I would venture to say that most candidates share those ideologies. It's like getting down to the nitty-gritty and figuring out what really separates you from everyone else, and what makes you different than the other guys. So when I've had people on this show, and Chastity, I think we've had just about every candidate, from everybody running for office, from the governor's race, the lieutenant governor, AG. I've had both AG candidates on. We've had all the Secretary of State candidates on. These are all good folks. Yep. They all got a great.
So you've had them on recently?
Every single one of them.
That's awesome.
I can't think of one statewide candidate that we have not had on this show other than Rick Jackson and Mike Collins has not been on yet, but we're still working on trying to get him on. And I think he wants to, but I know his schedule's pretty demanding.
Yeah.
And so, and when I'm done interviewing everybody, and I try to give a fair interview, I don't lean any way. I just ask the same questions. Really, I take the same set of questions and ask it to pretty much every candidate, maybe tweak a few things. But A lot of similarities, Roy, and who's out there. You got to read between the lines to figure out, can they get it done?
Yeah.
And that's not always the easy part.
Yeah, I agree, and that's a big part of it. For sure.
Yeah. What's next? I love the fact that you mentioned grassroots activists. I think there's no doubt we got our butts kicked in many elections during the Obama races. We found out they had a much more advanced ground game. I do think we've caught up with them. When I say we, the Republican Party, the problem is ground game in rural areas is much more complex than ground game in highly densely populated areas. But yeah, that is going to be critically important, because I think the way the governor's race goes in this upcoming election in November, many of the down ballot races will follow suit.
Yeah, I agree.
So vitally important we get the right guy there. What's next for you? What makes you get out of bed every day right now? I know you're a financial advisor. Tell me how that's going.
Yeah, I mean, we're wealth planners over in Athens. My partner Mike Fitzgerald, Fitzgerald Roberts Wealth Management Group. Our mother company is Stiefel Financial.
Okay,
have an office in Athens, and just paying for my last child, Mary Elise Roberts, who I told her I'd give her a shout out to get her out of college.
Now she's down in Macon, right?
No, she's at Mercer in Atlanta. She's in graduate school on a full scholarship. So she's cut me a break there. So I'm proud of her for that.
What does she want to do? What is it?
Family and children therapy.
Good for her.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
She wants to be a counselor, and that's something she'll be really good at.
Well, she went to the same college that my younger son Marcus went to.
Yep, and they were good friends all the way from high school all the way through. And
that's right.
My son Bo with Matthew as well. And
I forget that Matthew and Bo were.
Yeah, that's right.
Poor Matthew. I mention him every now and then, but he's down in Pensacola living the dream.
That's right. But what gets me out of bed is just love of life, I guess. Just not a spring chicken anymore. I guess I feel it every day, and just love every day.
Well, amen to that. I appreciate you taking the time to come and visit with us. This is a lot of fun. Learned a lot. Please give a big hug to all your family, mom included, Mary Lise, Bo. Tell them all I said hi. I'm proud of Bo, what he's doing. Proud of Mary Lise. And let's do this again. This will be fun. Any updates that you have for us in the future, we'll get you back on the show. But I appreciate you coming to me and so candid.
Love to come in after your big state senate victory.
Hi, amen to that.
Amen.
That's right. We'll have a little celebration.
There you go.
All right, Chastity, what's in store for us tomorrow?
Yes, sir. So tomorrow we're going to have Miss Amy Hunter Rhodes from the Barrow MTM Shopper.
She just won a special award, so she's part of my organization. She owns a franchise of ours, MTM Shopper Town Values franchise out in Winder Barrow, and she won, I think, the Chamber's Businesswoman of the Year award. Maybe I'm butchering that. I don't know, but
congratulations!
I'm so proud of her.
We'll find out.
Awesome.
And then we have Miss Bethany over at Willfully Guided Boots.
Big customer
in
of ours.
Western. Yep. Love going there shopping. And then we're going to have Miss Anne Marie. She is our local forager chick, and she is a farmer, baker, and medicine maker. So over at Bella Vista Farms. And then we'll have back in Mr. Haney, Mr. Dave Allen, and Brian LaChamp.
All this tomorrow?
All tomorrow.
Is it like a 5-hour show?
Yeah, I wish.
Can
we extend it?
Well, it'll be 2 hours of fun, loving time.
Absolutely.
Roy, again, great seeing you, buddy. Thanks for coming in.
Love being here.
Amen
Good
to
to
that.
see you both.
All right.
Thank you.
Chastity, roll us out with something strong.
All right, here we go.
See y'all tomorrow at noon.